Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of your favorite midday NFL show on the internet, fourth and forever. I am already seeing some Dolphins fans in the chat, especially since the title of today's video is about your favorite wide receiver. But don't worry, we have several other topics, including is TJ Watt unhappy? Where the hell did Phins Talk just go?
Yeah, he wasn't happy. Heard you talk about Tyreek. It's a sensitive topic, Dan. Come on.
And several other topics surrounding your favorite NFL organizations. We ask you guys to simply just smash that like button for us. It is the easiest way to show love since we are live Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. EST. All right, so going ahead and show a little bit of love as Colby joins us for the rest of the week and into next week as well. Colby, how you doing, man?
Man, I'm feeling absolutely amazing. Always love being back on the show. You know, Richie hit me up and he was like, hey, you did pretty good last time. So what do you think about filling in for about a, week and a half? And I was like, dude, don't even worry about it. I got you. So we're going to have some fun. You got me today. You got me tomorrow. And then you got me next week also. So we're going to have a fun time.
It's going to be a great one, man, for sure. And you were mentioning that you did take a back seat from the content life for about a week, you said? Like you took like a week break?
Yeah, I didn't have classes too. So for those who don't know, I'm getting my sportscasting degree. It's online and it's 2.5 years. So 2.5 years, I'll get my bachelor's, but it's through. So like I really don't get any breaks. And you get to a point where you're making so much content. For those who don't know, I make Patriots content over on my show, Patriots Global. I do everything by myself, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, on top of hosting here for Roundtable Sports, on top of the AFC East Roundtable, and then, of course, on top of Draftaholics. So I was like, you know what? The draft is right around the bend. The content's going to be wrapping up significantly with Bleacher Report, everything we got going on Roundtable Sports, everything at Patriots Global. Let's take a little bit of time off. Let's separate ourselves from everything so we can come back guns a-blazing for draft time.
You know what, man? I can feel the recharge battery just based off of our conversation so far. TD,
Great.
Once again, your computer crashed. And so I'm assuming.
Yeah, I was talking to Kobe backstage, and next thing you know, everything was frozen. I didn't see him anymore. Just had to reboot. But we should be good now.
Okay, we are rebooted. How's life, by the way, TD? Pretty good?
Life is great, man. Listen, man, it's a beautiful day outside. The weather's cooled down just a little, still sunny. This is perfect time of year. And then, we got football. We're getting closer to the draft, baby. Let's go.
We are getting closer to the draft. I'm getting sick of doing mock drafts, to be completely honest with you. I just want to see what every team ultimately ended up drafting so we can get deep into speculation season. All right. Like what team did enough during the offseason that actually end up moving the needle. However, this topic is exciting. And unfortunately, I hate to say this is not the first time that we have seen something like this cross our screens. Tyreek Hill, once again, involved in a domestic dispute. Now, I did see this news broken by Ari something last name, big personality on X. And then all but minutes later, they said that no charges were filed, no crime, quote unquote, was committed. But obviously, once you scroll through vast majority of NFL social media, you see content creators like Dougley Durong hop on and say, it's time. Dolphins fans, it's time just to walk away. Like this is a regularly occurring situation that happens once every 3 or 4 months where he's in altercations with family members, with police officers. He's running one-on-ones with women and breaking their legs or something like that. TD, thoughts on what appears to be the 7th situation to go down with Tyreek Hill during his tenure in Miami?
All right. Well, first off, I know a lot of people don't like to talk about, people's personal lives and things of that nature. But at the end of the day, it is news and it is newsworthy. It is something that is happening and it was put out into the public. If the national news can talk about it, which it was all over Miami news stations last night for everybody living in South Florida to see, we can talk about it as well. What basically happened, his wife's mother, his mother-in-law called the police because they had gotten to an argument, and the argument led to was about him needing to be more involved with their daughter, supposedly. And they got into an argument. He threw the laptop or something down to the ground. He picked his baby girl up and went out to the balcony. Now, I know a lot of people are trying to put 2 and 2 together and like, oh, was he threatening to do something on the 30th floor to his baby? That's not the case. They don't believe that was the case. It was just him picking his child up as he has the right to do. Okay. This did not become physical, in which, there was assault that was alleged when the police were arriving, but it turned out that there was no assault. There was no physical altercation, just an argument in which the mother-in-law said that they've been arguing a lot lately. He had just came home from working out and training, and it just led to a dispute. They have been having troubles in their marriage. They've been going to counseling, and it's not working out. But as of yesterday evening, she has officially filed for divorce. So he is going through that as well. That is the scoop of the story, okay? There was no assault that has taken place. The Miami Dolphins have investigated and will not further comment on the matter because there was no actual assault that has taken place. There was no arrest. Everything was on the up and up, just a domestic dispute, which happens. Okay. Now, how does this impact Tyreek as a football player? Here's where I chime in and give my opinion. If he is dealing with things off the field, such as in a divorce and things that are bothering him off the field, we have to be honest and say that these are the type of things that can impact you on the field, your personal life, okay? Which is a big concern. Also, I'm one of those firm believers, just like Dudley Durong, our friend that you alluded to. It's time to move on from Tyreek, and this is bigger than the run-ins with the law and things like that. His time in Miami has run its course. He stopped being a leader last year whenever he quit on the team in the last game, whether you feel like it was warranted or not, which I've even given him excuses for it. And at the end of the day, the Miami Dolphins should do what's best for the organization. The problem is last year they have given him additional money that locks him in this year and guarantees over almost $30 million of his salary. And that's the issue. They never had to do it, by the way, but they did. Now, the best case scenario for the Miami Dolphins would be to trade Tyreek Hill post June 1st. It gives the most cap flexibility. He'd only count about $12.8 to $13 million worth of cap this year, another 15 next year with some voidable years, and you can deal with that. You can manage that. So, ladies and gentlemen, Tyreek is not getting traded in the draft because it would incur a $45 million cap hit from Miami this year that they do not have. He is not getting cut because it will incur an over $50 million cap hit. The only out for the Miami Dolphins this year is trading him post June 1st. And no, you cannot trade him and designate it post June 1st. You actually have to trade him after June 1st. That's the only way possible. We can get the draft trade talk out of our mind. We can get all of that other talk out of our mind. The only thing that makes sense financially is post June 1st trade. If they do it any other time, that means they really want to get rid of him because it's too impactful from a cap standpoint. Okay. So that's what's going on in Miami. And I am an advocate of post June 1st trading him because there will be several teams once they get a look at what they have and they feel like, man, we can make a huge splash. We might have something here. Getting a Tyreek would be worth it. The market will be much more robust post June 1st. Okay. And guess what? You get an asset for next year.
Yeah.
You get a draft pick and you get a better one because it's next year. Most teams don't start valuing the draft picks the way they should until the season's over. And this is before the season even starts. So if you were going to get a third, you might can get a second now. If it's post June 1st. So these are all the things to consider. But will they do it? I don't know. But I think his time is worn in Miami.
Now, the thing is that I feel like it will continue to be a mystery. And you do bring up a good point. Financially, makes zero sense to walk away from this wide receiver unless they really want to get him out of the locker room, right? several times when the Buffalo Bills traded Stephon Diggs. We did it at an awkward time, and that was when we took like a massive cap hit. Just turned out that we wanted to walk away from that presence in our locker room. But I probably would agree with you that if anything does happen, it would be post June 1st. But I think we'll get a sign in this upcoming draft class. If, for example, that the Miami Dolphins end up going for a wide receiver that has similar attributes to what Tyreek Hill provides, if they're going after an Isaiah Bond, for example, in the 3rd and or the 4th round, completely like switching up their overall draft strategy, I think that's painting the picture that they are indeed looking to move him after that June 1st deadline. So Dolphins fans, keep an eye out for that, because the draft will tell you the story of their intentions going into 2025. Colby, any comments on this?
Yeah, I've been trying to follow this story as closely as possible, and I think TD hit most of the storylines, pretty much the nail on the head there. It sounds like nothing really happened, at least right now. Now, keep in mind, the details are a little bit still raw. They're still unfolding. I'm sure we'll find out things as time goes on. I'm sure we'll get the camera from the police officers that were there at some point, because Tyreek Hill is an A-list celebrity, right? Like, we'll find out about these things just like we did when he was ultimately arrested. I'm sure we'll see some type of clips. We'll hear about something down the road as more things come out. But so far, I haven't really heard much about him hitting anybody or doing anything. It was just allegedly it was a domestic dispute. Allegedly he did this. Allegedly he did that. And I think we live in a day and age where we forget something that is very, very important, and that is innocent until proven guilty, right? Not alleged, not accused, and all of a sudden you're guilty. Now, where there's smoke, there's fire. Tyreek Hill has been accused of things in the past. I mean, I remember back when he was with the Kansas City Chiefs, and there were rumors that, he broke his kid's arm and whatnot. So people already have a bit of a questionable view on Tyreek Hill because of that. But we have to treat each individual case that he's accused of as its own individual case. So until we have hardcore proof that he actually did something, we cannot go out there and say that, hey, the Dolphins need to trade him. They need to release him because he got into this domestic dispute. He was accused of something, but until there is physical proof that he did something, we cannot say that he did it. And as of right now, there is nothing to say that. She is filing for divorce, like TD said, but that's it. And if they've been having these relationship troubles for a while now, just because she's filing for divorce doesn't mean that this instance actually happened. It just means that, hey, they've been struggling, and clearly they're both deciding that they're going to go their separate ways now. So in terms of what should they do from a football standpoint, you guys saying that they should trade him as a post-June 1st designation, yeah, I mean, that makes the most sense for Miami. They would take on about $12.7 million in dead money, but they'd free up about $14.9 million. That makes the most sense for them. But just like if you're talking about your team wanting to trade down in the draft, you need another team that is willing to trade with you. What team is going to be willing to trade with the Miami Dolphins post the 2025 NFL draft? Free agency has
breaking news.
Something happened.
Cleveland Browns. Breaking news. The Cleveland Browns signed Tyreek Hill in anticipation of Deshaun Watson return. No.
Oh, I was about to say, Dale, hold up. Are you
serious? The Raiders. No. I was just joking. Yeah. Like
that just happened. But
I was just looking at franchises that like don't care about personal issues.
Now remember,
maybe they could do it.
Remember, the team that acquires him, they'll only have like a $10 million cap hit.
Yeah.
I'm just not sure that Miami and whoever the supposed team that ends up trading for him, I don't know if they're going to meet a middle ground on the draft capital along with the money that they're going to have to take on, because, $10-12 million, that might not seem like a lot to us. And of course, teams can kind of maneuver things, but for the most part, the cap space that you have, come June, come July, it gets kind of hard to maneuver your cap space when most of it has already been used up. So it's also going to be very limited on the amount of teams that ultimately can take on Tyreek Hill. I think that's going to hurt his stock, what the Dolphins could get in return for him even more. And he's 31. He's going into his age, what? 30? No, he's going into his age 32 season next year, right, TD?
Yeah, but remember, he's 1 year removed from being the best player in the NFL.
Yeah, but I don't think he sucked last year, but he'd even reach 1,000 yards last year.
I mean, but that's also having your starting quarterback miss 6 games and just ditching the team in the last game. Not to mention he played the entire year with a wrist injury that needed surgery that he did get this off season.
But he also has two big controversies surrounding him too. And football's recency bias. They don't care what he did a year ago. They care right now what's happening.
Yeah, I get
the cop thing. He had a down season this past year. He's another year older. He has a massive contract next year. He has like a $50 million cap hit.
Well, I think that the most important, you make a lot of valid points, Kobe, as far as the off-field stuff and all of that. It's a turnoff. But the money situation is it's the most flexible for the receiving team because next year's $30 million cap hit has zero guarantees. So all the team acquiring him has to do is bring him in, wipe out that $10 million from this year and say, we're not giving you that. We're just going to give you a new 3-year deal. And we're going to make it maybe $45-50 million. And now they have cap flexibility. Now they could play, and it's like really not hitting them at all.
TD, let me ask you a question. What do you think? Like, what you as a Dolphins fan, what would you be okay with getting in a trade for Tyreek Hill versus what would you say if we got this, it wouldn't be worth a trade?
A fourth or fifth round pick wouldn't be worth the trade. Technically, a third wouldn't be worth it, but it's the realization of what you're going to have to settle with. I want a second.
Yeah.
I want a second, but you're going to have to settle with a third to get it done and be okay with it. But a fourth, fifth, no, we're not doing that.
See, I don't think you're getting a fourth.
Yeah, see, well, now that's where you're put. The guy is 1 year removed. He's still at the top of his game. When you watched him on film last year, he's still wide open. We just had some major quarterback issues last year.
But receivers fall off.
Yeah, but
receivers fall off at 30, and he's almost 32.
They do, but let's not act like you have the anomalies. Like Cleveland just signed an anomaly. Look how old he is at the pass rush position. When you have your anomaly guys, yeah, but Tyreek is an anomaly. He's literally still at the top of his game. He's still playing top-notch football.
Yeah, but Tyreek's game's all about speed, and the older he gets, he's going to start losing that speed more and more. And I think we're starting to see that he is losing that. He's also started to talk about his career post-football. So I think he's even starting to lose that love for football a little bit more too.
He's getting older, but I will say this. I get what you're saying, Kobe, but he still is going to be a dynamic weapon for anybody. It's not like anybody's going to look at him and be like, no, he ain't worth it anymore. No, he's still going to be dynamic. And it's teams that are trying to win now that might be very interested. And I'm telling you, it's teams like going back to the Chiefs. It's a lot of teams that Baltimore might say, you know what, screw it. Let's do it. You know, these teams could very well do
Baltimore it. Doing it.
Just a 1 year extension. Green Bay might be like, hey, let's get into this. I mean, it's too many. The Cowboys already inquired about him. This was months ago. There are teams, bro.
He'll have value for sure. Like, he'll have trade value. He'll have trade value just for his name alone.
Yeah.
But you're not going to get a second. I promise you that. DK couldn't even. Well, DK went for a second, but he went for a second and more, and he's also younger, more in his prime, whatever. You're not going to get a third. You're going to get a fourth. I'm telling you. I'm telling you, you're going to get a fourth. And the only way you're getting a third is if a team is desperate. And on top of that, you're taking the majority of his contract. And on top of that, you're giving another draft pick. Would you be okay? Would you be okay with getting a third round pick, but having to give up like a fifth round pick on top of that?
No, just a straight up third. And this is where you keep on making, but the reason why you don't think we're getting it, Kobe, because you keep making a mistake. You keep saying this, but it's just not true. And it's only because you don't know the details of the contract right now. Tyreek has guaranteed money this year that Miami has to pay. Okay. The receiving team is getting a player in which they'll have to pay a $10 million cap hit this year or rip the contract up and just give them a new one. That's what you're dealing with right now. He has zero guarantees in 2026. $30 million cap hit if we keep him, but zero guarantees. Cut him, you don't lose nothing. So the receiving team, this is actually a perfect contract situation. Oh, man. So you mean to tell me I could bring Tyreek in, instead of the $10 million, I could eat the $10 million cap hit this year and move on next year as a 1 year rental, or I could just say, hey, man, let us just throw you a 3 year, $60 million deal, guaranteed 30, and play with the cap to where you're only a $3 million cap hit this year, $9 million a year after. We can cut you and eat some dead cap on the back end if we want. It's an ideal contract situation for the receiving team.
Yeah.
It's actually perfect.
So the question, I believe, would be what team is wanting to take a risk on that, especially with his history. But there's probably several. I'm not going to lie to you. There are probably several teams who would.
He probably
run
needs
that
a new
risk.
environment, though. It's Miami. Miami is the issue.
Well, damn. Send him up to Wisconsin. You know, like Green Bay, Wisconsin. He'll be all right.
How much trouble did he get into in
Green Bay, Wisconsin?
No, how much trouble did he get into in Kansas City? Wasn't it before Kansas City?
I believe it was before. Yeah, I believe it was before Kansas City. Then
he went to boring Kansas City, no peep, and then he go to Miami. He done had 6 incidents.
Yeah. 6. Dude, listen, it is the city of Miami, man. It's not a good place to establish a culture for professional athletes. Way too many temptations out there.
And Kobe, you better be quiet because he might end up in New England.
He's definitely not coming to New England. I can promise you that. His character concerns. The Patriots are heavily prioritizing character in guys, even guys who have issues in the draft with character concerns. They're taking them off their boards. I promise you, they do not want an aging. Storyline prone wide receiver. I promise you he's not coming to New England. But again, you look at DK Metcalf. He was just traded for a 2nd-round pick and some other picks. He's younger. He's more in his prime. Deebo Samuel traded for a 5th-round pick. Mike Williams traded for a 5th-round pick. DeAndre Hopkins traded for a 5th. Jerry Jeudy traded for a 5th and a 6th. Again, wide receivers are not going for as much as you think, especially as they're getting older. And again, recency bias. Based off the season he's coming off of, if you trade him right now, I think that value is going to be low. I think the hope is that if you're a Dolphins fan, you want him to ball out, have a career year, at least 1,400 yards for Miami this upcoming season. You trade him next offseason.
We won't be able to trade him. We won't be able to trade him.
Then you have to be okay with trading him for a 4th round.
Next year, we're not going to be able to trade him. I mean, that's why you got to do it this year. And you know what? Maybe it doesn't happen right away before the season. Maybe it's just a trade deadline situation because now half of anything that was old is gone.
So you have to trade him. So basically you have to trade him now. You can't trade him next offseason?
You can, but nobody's going to do it at the $30 million cap hit. So therefore, you're going to end up having to cut him, and he's going to be an unrestricted free agent.
Well, if they see that you're desperate also, that's going to bend your hand even more and limit the amount.
But we're not right now, but we'll be willing to take the calls to try to get that done post June 1st. But Miami gives all the indication they moving forward with them. Yeah, they turning the blind eye to everything Tyreek does. He walked out of a game. They're like, oh, yeah, it's unacceptable, but we've made up.
All these things put together feels like a 4th-round pick.
It's crazy. In my opinion, though, Dan? I think it's going to be – so I think it'll be a 3rd. And it's not because I think
he might end up in Buffalo.
Probably not.
If it's a 3rd, probably not. More.
Yeah. So I'd be shocked if Brandon Beane wanted to bring him in, unless we're looking at an absolutely desperate situation where 2 of our wide receivers we're playing a game of one-on-one basketball and tore their ACL. And, we had no other option.
I gotta say one.
Go ahead.
I hate to say this.
Okay.
If Tyreek Hill was in Buffalo, I would even change my stance that y'all have a chance to win a Super Bowl.
Oh, God. All right.
You can't tell me otherwise. You don't think so? If Tyreek was in Buffalo, man, you couldn't tell me otherwise. You could not tell me otherwise. You could not tell me otherwise.
He still has the speed, and defenses would still need to account for him. He'd probably still put up over 1,000.
Who's getting double teamed on the team now? Who's getting double teamed?
Yeah, you're right. I think that would propel us right into a Super Bowl unanimous vote. He would be the MVP again, back to back. Look at that. Watch out, Lamar Jackson. Anyway, JT has come in and said, couldn't beat many teams during the regular season. Tyreek had to take matters into his own hands. It's a member from JT just came in. Glenn came in with a $10 donation. Thank you so much, Glenn. We appreciate that. Might be the time to move on, but Miami will get nothing for him and cannot afford to trade him until after June 1st. That is the reason you never have your mother-in-law live with you. Oh, wow. Look at that. Words of wisdom, folks. Words of wisdom. Do not allow your mother-in-laws to ever live with you, all right? Patriots 92. I would rather have Hill on the Patriots than Stephon Diggs. Hill has a better upside than Diggs.
I think, yeah, but you have to also understand who fits best in the system. Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs. Under Josh McDaniel's system, those technicians work really, really well. Guys who can be in the slot, who can be lined up outside, can be used all over the offensive formation, can get open short, intermediate, and deep, and don't simply rely on their speed to get open. Those speed guys, they really don't work out in New England. Now, they do need a speedster on this team just to make a defense respect them over the top. You obviously got Drake May who can bomb the ball down the field, but those technicians have always worked the best here in New England under Josh McDaniels. Jacoby Myers, Wes Welker, Julian Edelman, Danny Amendola. Those guys work better here, especially looking at, Tyreek's aging. He's about the same age, though, as Stephon Diggs, so I guess that doesn't matter. But, yeah, no, Stephon Diggs is a better fit in New England. And that's coming from me, who didn't, love the idea of Stephon Diggs on the Patriots.
Of course it's coming from you because he's a Patriot now, and you want to defend the moves y'all made. Tyreek would 2-3 times be better than a Stephon Diggs in any system. You don't sit here and try to sell us on that, Kobe.
I promise you they're not going to also, because if you're saying that you want a third or fourth round pick, that third or fourth round pick from the Patriots is high. There's a reason that the Patriots were out on DK Metcalf. There's a reason why they haven't traded for a receiver, because the Patriots do not want to give up draft capital on top of having to take on a high-end contract. They don't want to do those two things. Tyreek's not coming to the Patriots. Like, talking about it is dumb.
I get the Tyreek not coming to the Patriots, but Dan, if you're not going to make a TikTok after this, should the Buffalo Bills go get Tyreek Hill from the Dolphins, you're tripping.
I'm planning on doing a Tyreek Hill TikTok, but not about him. One. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Rent's not due for a little bit, so I'll go ahead and I'll. Yeah, rent's not due yet. So what I'll do is I'll make that happen. All right, but anyway. Oh, man, it's the off season, and we love a good rumor mill of, oh, my God, a player is unhappy. And it's funny because you reflect back at the beginning of the off season, and there were so many names, specifically at the edge rusher position, where we saw Myles Garrett, right? He was unhappy. He wanted to play for a contender. Surprise, surprise, he signs with the Browns again. Then Trey Hendrickson, who is still stuck in a perpetual limbo over in Cincinnati. And we all but forgot about TJ Watt, who contract expires next year. He is also looking for an extension. He went onto Instagram and he posted a picture of himself giving a peace sign. What is up with NFL players and peace signs on social media? I've been having a hard time with that. I mean, it's a great segue from Tyreek over to TJ Watt. Now, rumors, or actually,
huge.
So not reports, but not rumors, but reports have been coming out that now Pittsburgh is looking to sign him to an extension, which could potentially happen. Or are they looking to trade him? He is 30 years old, and as we say, that age of 30, outside of a couple of anomalies, you typically start to see some regression in your game. Pittsburgh also had a meeting with Shedeur Sanders. All right, they flew them in right to Pittsburgh earlier. Is TJ Watt a potential NFL draft day trade? It happens all the time. We've seen these players. I think this is a topic that everyone often ignores and is surprised when they see a big name player moved on draft day. Is TJ Watt on your radar for a potential draft capital sort of compensation? Colby, talk to me your thoughts on this situation.
Well, Dan, I think you just hit the nail on the head there. This is why we're talking about it, because everybody wants this to be true. Everybody loves the blockbuster trades. Everybody loves the idea. Oh, my God, TJ Watt on my team. Hold up. Like, is this real? This could happen? No, it's going to happen. The reality is that it's not, right? And I think we see this. We see the piece, and we're all like, oh, Peace, he's saying goodbye to Pittsburgh. He wants to go. I have not heard anything valuable when it comes to TJ Watt actually being traded. I think the only reason we're talking about this is because of the peace sign. What if in reality he just liked the photo of himself? What if in reality that peace sign is a tie back to Tyreek Hill and he's like, hey, yo, Tyreek Hill, peace sign. Let me throw up a peace sign too. Why don't you come to Pittsburgh, team up with DK, and let's go get a damn Lombardi here in Pittsburgh, right? We don't know what it is. And until there's a real report about it, I'm not going to buy into it. Also, TJ Watt is like the face of the franchise there in Pittsburgh. He is a true game changer. Everybody knows TJ Watt. Everybody loves TJ Watt. But I even believe that TJ Watt is one of the most underrated players in the league. What he does, the way that he impacts the game for Pittsburgh is so underlooked. So to me, they can't get rid of him. They won't get rid of him. And honestly, Dan, what we're seeing from these defensive linemen, these edge rushers, is that over the last few years, these guys are still playing at a high level in their mid-30s. So I don't believe that edge rusher or linebacker is one of those positions where you hit 30 and you start to fall off. Receiver, on the other hand, statistically, that is a proven fact. But with these edge rushers, they can play into their mid-30s. They can play 34, 35 and still play at a high level and be perfectly fine. I think TJ Watt could still get a 4-year deal, get a 4-year extension, make him one of the highest paid defenders in the league. And I still think they're going to get high value out of him. I think they're going to get really good play out of him. So I don't think he moves on. I think everybody's looking into this a little bit too much, and he'll get that contract extension done before the start of the season.
So what do you got, TD?
Listen, I think it'll happen too, but Pittsburgh ain't playing around about this quarterback. You see, they've, out of their 30 visits, they brought in 4 of them at the quarterback position, and 1 being Shador. Maybe they're putting a plan together, and if it works out, TJ Watt is a part of it. I think they're trying to re-sign TJ Watt, but y'all got to understand what these pass rushers are going for right now. I mean, that's a lot of money that's hurting your team too. Pass rushers are quarterbacks now. I mean, didn't we just get one? How much was it? 35 or 40? 40 million?
Mm-hmm. True.
Bruh, that's that. Ooh. And all I'm going to say is this. They might even move up for Abdul Carter. It might be, here's our first round pick in TJ Watt. All of these could be possibilities.
They're going to trade up in the top 3.
Well, I mean, other assets as well, potentially. But
I think
you're getting
trading up those for a quarterback.
Yeah, I'm just saying, I'm giving the options. It could be for Abdul Carter to replace him, or it could be to get Shador Sanders, or maybe there's a sweet spot that they're working on. 9th or 10th. If Shador falls here, we want to send this package. If he doesn't, we got our game plan. A lot of organizations, they do scenarios and they have game plans. If this player falls to here, this is the package we have to move up. If that player goes to there, we want to, and this TJ Watt could be a part of a lot of those package scenarios. Because that's a lot of money, man. And I understand how much of a game record these guys can be, but I'm not quite sure it's worth it yet. I'm not quite sure $40 million for any pass rusher is worth it. Because truth be told, we don't have this conversation because the market is the market, but these $50 and $60 million quarterbacks aren't worth it either. It's too much of a gamble on one person that could get hurt at any moment. So I think teams will be smart to go away from, at least if you're going to take that risk on a quarterback, at least go away from that with the pass rusher. And he's the face of the franchise, but at some point, you got to let him do the ultimate thing for the organization, and that's trade him and get a nice package for it and save the team some money and thank him for his career. Put him up in the Raptors if you have to.
Interesting.
But yeah, I mean, let's be honest here. We can go for the whole face of the organization narrative. He's a lifelong Steeler, but that ship is sailed. That's old school.
I'm not saying he's going to be a Steeler his entire career. I think maybe the final year or two, just like his brother, right? Maybe he ends up going somewhere else at the end because he falls off and the team feels like, hey, we want to get younger, but he still wants to play football. Maybe at the end of his career he does. But again, he's only 30 years old. He's still playing at a high level. He had a PFF grade this past season of 92.2. That ranked 3rd out of a qualifying 211 edge rushers. A pass rush grade of 90.1. That was 6th out of 211 edge rushers. And a 91.4 run defensive grade. That was 1st out of 211 edge rushers. He is one of the best, if not the best, all-around edge defender in the league. And again, he's still only 30 years old. I actually disagree. I think he is worth the contract that he's going to get.
Kobe, which is more the reason why you need to trade him, because his stock will never be this high.
I still think he has this good of a play in him for the next 4 years.
I get it. I get it. But at the end of the day, at some point, you got to say he may have that good of a play in him for the next 4 years, but not at $40 million a year.
Yeah,
I think he's worth it.
So one other flag as well is that like he's no stranger to the injury bug either, right? So yes, if in an ideal world he were to stay completely healthy, like a full bill of health for the next 3 to 4 years, for sure, he's definitely going to. And this is coming from a guy that hates that narrative that just because somebody is 30 years old, regardless of the production that they put up the previous season, does not mean they're going to fall off of a cliff, right? Like we hear this about Trey Hendrickson, right? Where many people are trying to say, oh no, he's almost 30. Like folks, like, so he put up 17 and a half sacks back-to-back years. How much of a drop-off are you realistically expecting this next year, right? Like say, for example, last year we saw like a 1 quarter decrease in production. I could totally understand that, but yeah, TJ is indeed still a high quality player. I don't believe that they would trade him. He's going to stay because I think he's the cornerstone of that defense, right? He's the type of player that you draft and you sign free agents to complement a player like TJ Watt, right? Like you go out and you look for a specific DB that complements that part of the game that TJ Watt brings. There's several times when TJ Watt is not out on the field. Like so many times I saw like these graphics when, for example, the Steelers were struggling or ultimately ended up going through a couple of game like losing streaks, several of which were when TJ Watt was not on the field at all. So I think that he will be a Pittsburgh Steeler. And I think that his contract extension will likely come a little closer to the training camp.
Dan, do you think he's worth the money? Do you think he's worth, like, would you pay him that $40 million per year?
Yeah.
I agree, because you need that game record, right? With as good as offensive lines and opposing quarterbacks are getting, with how athletic quarterbacks are getting, you need a guy who's going to be able to get in the backfield, disrupt them, and be an every down defensive lineman, a guy who makes your defense less predictable and doesn't make them one-dimensional. He makes them multi-dimensional, and that's exactly what TJ is. The other thing, too, is that we have to remember contracts as we know it are not the same. So $40 million now, $35 million now might look rough right now, but that number is going to go up. And you're like, oh, well, quarterbacks are making, $55+ million. Well, that number's gone up every single offseason, and it's going to continue to do that. Contracts are going to continue to go up at every single position until the cap number stops going up.
Yeah. And plus, like when you look at the edge rusher position, it is the second most important position on any NFL squad.
Yeah.
It's QB number 1, number 2 is edge rusher.
The problem with Pittsburgh, they're allocating too much money on defense, man. Minka Fitzpatrick, $25 million next year. Alex Hightower, $21 million next year. Cameron Hayward, $20 million next year. Patrick Queen, $18. I mean, it just goes.
So Cam's like 36 though at this point, right? Like he's got to be.
Retire,
yeah,
but he's
probably got to retire
next
season. Yeah,
maybe not though. He's under contract.
Yeah, he's still on the books. Regardless, what a hell of a career from that guy, man. Damn. Well, folks, listen.
They have the DK Metcalf hit that they're taking. And not to mention, we're also not talking about the potential Aaron Rodgers hit.
Yeah.
We're not talking about they have a lot of big contracts lined up, and that's part of the issue here.
Damn. Can they figure it out? Can they figure it out? All right, folks, we have time for one more topic today. Have no fear. We are going to save the 2 we did not get to for tomorrow's episode. But damn, man. Deshaun Watson said earlier this morning that he plans on coming back better than ever. He re-injured his Achilles last year, as we know, in the winter, and likely will miss the entire 2025 season. And Jimmy Haslam has said, we thought we had the quarterback. We didn't. It sounds like the owner is all but over the Deshaun Watson experiment, although technically he's still under contract for a significant financial impact next year in 2026 as well. So are we buying this, that Deshaun Watson is going to come back better than ever? Colby, thoughts?
Do you believe that if I tell you right now that I'm going to make it in the NFL, you're going to believe me?
No.
Like if I just tell you straight up, hey, Dan, I mean, I know we're buddies,
Yeah.
I know we're family here, man, but let's be real. If I tell you right now, hey, man, I'm going to be the next great quarterback in the league, you're going to be like, all right, yeah, dude, for sure. He probably not, but all right.
So I believe punter.
Yeah, okay, well, thanks, man. That kind of hurts, but it's all right,
Yeah.
Hey, man, real talk, though. No, like, he's done. He's been done. He took time away from football when everything happened. He thought he could come back, but he wasn't in football shape. He took too much time off. And honestly, I think the mental part has affected him so much. And that's a big, big part to playing the quarterback position. You need confidence. You can't be in your head. And I think the quarterback he once was died when his career died, essentially, back when he was good with the Texans. So I don't think he's coming back. He's just another year older. I don't see what's going to flip for him suddenly at this point in his career. And like you said, I mean, how are they going to get rid of him? Because I'm looking at it right now. They can't cut him pre-June 1st. They can't cut him post-June 1st this year, but they could do it next year. He is signed for 2025 and 2026, and then his void years kick in starting in 2027. So I don't see how they're going to get out of it here, at least for this season. But it looks like at the end of 2025, then they could. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't. I mean, quarterback is the most important position. I mean, you have to have a quarterback in order to succeed. I think they have, good pieces on defense. I think they have some pieces that they're starting to build there offensively. I think Kevin Stefanski is still a good head coach. He was coach of the year like 2 years ago. So yeah, that's proven. I just think they need the quarterback, and clearly Watson is not that. The move didn't make sense at the time. We said, maybe in hindsight, we'll look back at this and say, hey, it looks bad right now, but maybe it'll look better in the future. And it's just looking worse as time goes on. So I'm cutting ties as soon as humanly possible.
Now, the whole situation kind of stinks too, right? Because you would have assumed, at least at the beginning of this offseason, that Cleveland was 100% going for Shedeur Sanders or whoever fell at that second overall pick. Now it's all but confirmed that they're taking Travis Hunter with the second overall pick. Like, it is all but confirmed at this point. It's either that Haslam is full of it and he actually is planning on running Deshaun Watson out again next year, and or they are going to go to the draft next year with what seemingly would be a better QB class. TD, thoughts on this? Will Deshaun Watson ever be the same? Does he still have enough in the tank to come back and prove everybody wrong?
When did he re-injure himself?
Winter. I think it was in January or something like that.
He had a setback January of this year.
Yeah,
in
but
his Achilles injury.
Setback was like re-tearing it entirely.
So how long does that take?
Tearing your ACL again?
Achilles.
His Achilles? About a year.
And even then,
but then re-tearing it in such
could even
a short amount of time probably has to add a little bit too.
Well, on top of that, too, coming back from your Achilles, it
can
take an entire season to come back from it. Like, you can come back and play football for a season, but it will take you an entire year to come back from it, to truly be yourself again. Yeah, to truly look like yourself again.
All right, so Cleveland got screwed in this whole thing, but they put themselves in this situation. Deshaun Watson's been in the driver's seat the entire time, and he continues to be. He's still in the driver's seat now, unfortunately, for Cleveland. And here's why I say that. Forget this year. It's impossible for them to do any transaction for him this year, especially being injured. You can't do it anyway. Okay. But let's go to next year. Do you think that they would be willing to take a $131 million cap hit next year? Yes or no?
Probably not. No.
So they're not cutting him straight out next offseason. This is all next offseason. Okay. If they cut him, they take right there on the spot, no spreading it out, $131 million cap hit. They're not cutting Deshaun Watson next year.
They would take $80 million in dead money, but they would take zero. If they cut him as a post June 1st, they would take zero.
No, we're getting there. We're getting there. I'm talking about straight cut before June 1st. That's not happening. Yeah, that's 131. Now, let's go your scenario, Kobe. Post June 1st cut. Are they going to take an $81 million cap hit next year? $81 million against the cap in 1 year. Not spread out, just 1 year, straight up. Can they take an $81 million cap hit next year? No.
They don't lose money, though.
They take a cap hit. They don't have the money to have their team. That's $81 million.
Yeah, but they're not losing anything against the cap. Like, it's not.
The $81 million is against the $81 million is against the cap, Kobe. This dead cap money that goes against the cap.
Yeah, $80 million in dead money, but like the cap number that they have next year, that's not going to bring it down.
No.
Like it's not like, oh, you have $100 million, that's $80 million minus now. That's not how that works.
No, it does, Kobe. It's straight up. As soon as you cut him, bam, dead cap hit. You charged. That's how that works, Kobe.
Not according to over the cap.
They saved $50 million because it would have been 131, but they saved $50 million. That's if you cut him. That's a straight up cap hit, Kobe. That year. That's
not what over the cap is saying.
Over the cap, I'm sitting here looking at it is. That's how it works. That's your cap hit. Pre-June 1st trade, you're taking an $85 million dead cap hit in 26 if you trade him pre-June 1st, and you'll save $4.5 million. That's not happening either. The only way out of this contract next year is if you have a post-June 1st trade, and you'd still have a cap hit of $35 million next year, and in 2027, $50 million. No matter what. That's the only out is a post-June 1st trade. But who's going to trade for Deshaun Watson? Who's going to trade for Deshaun Watson? He's going to be on the roster this year and next year. And that's the reality that they're dealing with.
See, I don't necessarily agree with that, though.
So what are they going to do? Listen, this is what I believe they're going to do. They're going to let this year pass. They're going to get a young quarterback this year or next year. And Watson's going to come back, and they're going to say, hey, we're just going to have a competition in camp. Best man wins the job. That's how they're going to approach this. And they're going to give Deshaun Watson your last chance to outplay whoever we got here and to earn a position, or that's the guy you're to back up, but next year you're gone.
See, I think he's here this year. See, I think he's here this year, but I think next year they're going to cut him. They're going to take a quarterback in the first round. They're going to try to trade up. They're going to get him on a rookie deal. That's going to be their future. They're going to cut ties with Watson, and then they're going to get a very, very cheap mentor, veteran bridge quarterback that can start a few games until that quarterback is ultimately ready. They're going to cut ties with him. They want to move on. They do not want him in the background. They don't want questions looming over this young quarterback. I think this year is going to be the final year we see Deshaun Watson. This
is what you're proposing, Kobe. You think
yours
what do you say they're going to?
We're both using different websites.
I know, because over the cap be awful on theirs. That's why I always use this one. I go look at.
I heard over the cap was the best.
They're usually the best with current cap space, but as far as outlining what the money will be in the future, they're always off. But this is what I have here. Which one of these scenarios you say they're going to do?
They're going to keep him this year, but then they're going to cut him.
This is next year. This is next offseason right here in front of you.
Post-June 1st.
Post-June 1st, that's an $81 million dead cap hit. And then $50 million in 2027.
But like sooner or later, like they have to move forward. They can't just keep throwing out seasons because they gave out a bad contract. At some point, they just have to accept we gave out a bad contract. They're going to get a quarterback on a young deal. They're going to have to accept that they're going to be bad for a year. But
in 2027, because the money,
they can't go 2 more years of bad play because of Deshaun Watson.
Now, so the thing is that all of this money is just based off of the equal splits of the guarantees that he has had already.
He's fully guaranteed. Yeah. So it's all still on the surface, Dan.
It's still on the books, right?
Yeah, he's fully guaranteed. So they don't have that flexibility.
Neither did the Denver Broncos with Russell Wilson.
Was that fully guaranteed? They had the outs. They had the back end outs. Deshaun's is fully guaranteed. There ain't no flexibility. Russ had 2.5 years of guarantees out of the 5 or whatever. Deshaun's is fully. This is the most screwed situation in NFL history. There ain't no, it'll lower because none of the guarantees, there aren't any more guarantees. Let me back out of here and show you what the, look at the dead cap here. Do you see this? 167 this year and 131 the year after.
Dead.
That's crazy. This ain't nobody else's contract and how it normally works because they fully guaranteed it. There is no flexibility of if we cut them, we just got to pay the guarantees left. The whole contract was guaranteed. So all of it is real numbers. They're real numbers. There's no, but it'll come down and they split it out like this because they guaranteed the whole thing.
Shout out to Dwayne. He comes in. He says, toast to our hosts. Thank you, Dwayne. We appreciate that. A $5 donation. KM has come in and said the Dolphins should trade Tyreek Hill. They would be way better. Still lose to the Bills by 20, but it would be a big step for the dog shit franchise. Where's Richie at? Richie is in Costa Rica. He's in Costa Rica. He's living large. Despite me and TD trying to warn him about all of the Jaguars, the actual Jaguars he could run into, and the various indeed dangers right in the Costa Rican jungle. But hey, listen, Richie, we hope you have a great time over there. That's going to have to do it for another edition of Roundtable Sports Fourth and Forever. Let's go around the table and have our hosts say their goodbyes, and we will send you off on this gorgeous Thursday afternoon. Colby, what do you got?
Hey, man, we got Draftaholics later on today on the channel that you're watching right now. So if you guys are not subscribed already to Roundtable Sports, make sure you do so. Got a lot of shows that really come out for you guys weekly. So daily here. So make sure you guys subscribe here to Roundtable Sports. Draftaholics we have a new time. It's not 5:30 p.m. Eastern anymore. It's 6 p.m. Eastern every single Thursday. So make sure you tune into that. Today, we got a 3-round NFL mock draft for the AFC West and the NFC West. So make sure you guys tune into that. Shout out to Richie for trusting me to fill in for him. Filling in today, filling in tomorrow, filling in all week next week. So it's going to be a good time.
TD, Kobe, what do you got?
Kobe, can I give you a request on the show today for the Dolphins?
Oh, God.
No, I'm serious because we've looked at all of our scenarios. We got a lot of players we like at 13, but based off of all of our holes, is a strategy that a lot of people have been talking about is trade down twice. So just consider it potentially.
Well, TD, there's a report that just came out from Ian Rappaport that says there's not a lot of teams that are looking to move up. So with that being said,
I'm just saying, Kobe,
I don't know. You're talking about one. Yeah, you're not even talking about one time. You're talking about 2 times. So I don't know how realistic that is.
Trade to the lower teens and then trade to the late 20s and get some second and third round picks and see how many great players we can get in the first.
Maybe it happens.
Maybe,
right?
At least once, Kobe. At least once.
I got you, bro. Right? Don't worry about it.
I'll
be tuning in.
Hey, TD, what do you got to say to the audience before we let them go?
Beautiful show today. Kobe here rocking it. You know, it's always an upgrade when Kobe shows up. At the end of the day, man, I can't wait for tomorrow's Fourth and Forever. Great show coming for you all. And then the draft is next week. And I can't wait, man. It'll be my first. No, is it next week?
2 weeks.
It's in 2 weeks, man.
2 weeks.
Yeah, the draft's in 2 weeks. I can't wait. It'll be the first time I'm going as media. So I'm excited about it.
Oh, man, it is going to be a great time. Folks, thank you so much for tuning in to another edition of Fourth and Forever, your daily NFL podcast. Smash that like button, subscribe, turn on bell notifications so you can tune in live Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. EST. And we will see you next time.
Peace.